Every village in India is surveyed once in 10 years during the census, and some of details are presented in the following format. Fill up the following based on the information on the Palampur. यहाँ पे दे रखे हैं लोकेशन बुलंदशहर डिस्ट्रिक्ट वेस्टर्न उत्तर प्रदेश. टोटल एरिया ऑफ द विलेज 226 हेक्टेयर्स. लैंड यूज इन द हेक्टेयर्स कल्टिवेटेड लैंड, इरीगेटेड में 200 हेक्टेयर्स, अनइरीगेटेड जो है कुछ भी है ही नहीं. एंड लैंड नॉट अवेलेबल फॉर द कल्टिवेशन एरिया कवरिंग ड्वेलिंग्स रोड्स पॉन्ड्स ग्रेजिंग ग्राउंड, तो वो है 26 हेक्टेयर्स. फैसिलिटीज़ क्या है? एजुकेशन के लिए 2 प्राइमरी स्कूल्स हैं एंड 1 हाई स्कूल है. मेडिकल के लिए 1 प्राइमरी हेल्थ सेंटर है एंड 1 प्राइवेट डिस्पेंसरी है. मार्केट में रायगंज है एंड शाहपुर है. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई में मोस्ट ऑफ द हाउसेज हैव इलेक्ट्रिक कनेक्शंस. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पावर्स ऑल द ट्यूब वेल्स इन द फील्ड्स एंड इज यूज्ड इन द वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ द स्मॉल बिजनेसेस. कम्युनिकेशन में वेल कनेक्टेड विद द नेबरिंग villages and towns and 3 kilometers from the हो जाएगा रायगंज. all weather roads connects it to Raiganj and further on to the Shahpur, and many kinds of transport like bullock carts, tongas and bogies and motorcycles, jeeps and tractors and trucks are present. नियरेस्ट टाउन में क्या हो जाएगा? शाहपुर हो जाएगा. मॉडर्न फार्मिंग मेथड्स रिक्वायर मोर इनपुट्स विच आर मैन्युफैक्चर्ड इन इंडस्ट्री, एंड डू यू एग्री? So modern farming methods involve the use of high yielding variety seeds, and these seeds require a combination of chemicals, fertilizers and pesticides. Agricultural implements like tractors and proper irrigation facilities like electric tube wells to produce the best results. All these elements are manufactured in industries. Hence, it would be right to say that modern farming methods make use of greater number of industrial outputs as compared to the traditional farming methods. How did the spread of electricity help farmers in the Palampur? The spread of electricity has helped the farmers of the Palampur village in the following ways. Most of the houses have electric connections. Electricity is used to run the tube wells in the fields. Electricity is used in the various types of small businesses. Is it important to increase the area under the irrigation, and why? More area under the irrigation would lead to more yield or production to fulfill the needs of the population, and more yield would fetch more income to the farmers. It would provide more employment opportunities for them. Their supplement income can provide them more capital for the further investment in non-farm activities also. यहाँ पे construct a table on the distribution of land among the 450 families of the Palampur. The table showing the distribution of land among the 450 families in the village Palampur is यहाँ पे families with no land, mainly Dalits 150 families, families with less than 2 hectares 240 families, families with more than 2 hectares 60 families, and total यहाँ पे 450 families. Why are the wages for the farm laborers in the Palampur less than the minimum wages? Employment is less and farmers are more, and therefore farmers have to be content with what they were earning. Land is owned by landlords who desire to earn more and more profits by giving minimum wages. The farmers are illiterate and unaware of the minimum amount set by the government. In your region, talk to 2 laborers. Choose either farm laborers or laborers working at construction sites. What wages do they get? Are they paid in the case? Are they paid in the cash or kind? Do they get work regularly? Are they in debt? There are 2 laborers in our region, namely Ram Khilavan and Basanti, who are husband and wife. They both are working as casual constructing laborers. Due to drought, they had to leave their village in search of employment, and they get approximately 50 to 60 rupees per day, which they are paid in cash. They do not get work regularly because there are large number of workers seeking employment, due to which they agree to work for the low wages. Because of irregular work and low wages, they are unable to fulfill their needs and are in debt. What are the different ways of increasing production on the same piece of land? Use examples to explain. The different ways of increasing production on the same piece of land are multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production on a given piece of land. Under it, more than one crop is grown on the same piece of land during the year. Indian farmers should grow at least 2 main crops in the year. In India, some farmers are growing a third crop also over the past 20 years. Modern farming methods may production on the same piece of land can also be increased by adopting modern farming methods, and the green revolution in India is a remarkable example of it. Under the modern farming, more cultivation areas should be brought under the HYV seeds and irrigation, and the use of simple wooden plow must be replaced by the tractors, and the increasing use of the machineries like tractors, threshers, harvesters, etc. make cultivation faster. Now describe the work of the farmer with 1 hectare of the land. A farmer with 1 hectare of the land shall put under the category of small farmer. Most of the work would be done by the farmer and his family members, and the farmer will normally use a pair of bullocks to plow the field. His family members would assist him in the sowing seeds during harvest time. He may require to hire some laborers. Now, how do medium and large farmers obtain capital for farming? How is it different from the small farmers? The most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. They borrow from large farmers or the village moneylenders or the traders who supply various inputs for the cultivation. The rate of interest on such loans is very high, and these farmers are in the great stress to repay the loans. In contrast to the small farmers, medium and large farmers have their own savings from the farming, and they use this saving to arrange for the next year's capital and make high profits by selling surplus production and earning higher amounts. Sometimes they deposit their savings in a bank or lend their money to small farmers or save their savings or buy cattle, truck or to set up shops. On what terms did Savita get a loan from Tejpal Singh? Would Savita's condition be different if she could get a loan from the bank at a low rate of the interest? Savita required money for buying seeds, fertilizers and pesticides, and water for the irrigation. She also needed money for repairing her farm instruments, so she decided to borrow money from the Tejpal Singh, a larger farmer in her village. Tejpal Singh agreed to give the loan of Rs 3,000 at an interest rate of 24% for the 4 months. He also got her to agree to work on his field during the harvest season for Rs 35 a day. Savita's condition would have been better if she could get a loan from the bank. The bank would have provided her loan at the low rate of interest. Moreover, Savita could have devoted more time on her own field instead of working for Tejpal Singh as farm laborer. Talk to some old residents in your region and write a short reports on the changes in the irrigation and changes in the production methods during the last 30 years. On talking to two old residents, Ramlal and Dharm Singh, I came to know about the irrigation methods that were traditionally in use in our area. They told me that earlier they were dependent on the rainfall, and later on they started to use the Persian wheel to draw the water from the wells. With the development of the technology, tube wells were used for the better and effective irrigation. In the farming methods traditionally, they plowed the field with the plows drawn by the bullocks, which were a very difficult and time-consuming process, and they used ordinary seeds and cow dung manure for the fertilizers. Nowadays, in the region, with the government's efforts, people use various types of irrigation methods and HYV seed techniques such as seeds, chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, etc., and the production has increased manifold in the region. What are the known farm production activities taking place in your region? Make a short list. The known farm production activities taking place in our region are dairy farming. It is a common activity of many families in the rural areas in our region. Small scale or cottage industry. Some people are involved in small scale manufacturing running from their homes, like the making of the basket, toys, mats, etc., or in the field like the production of jaggery. Shopkeeping may a few people are involved as shopkeepers and traders who buy various general and domestic goods from the wholesalers of the cities and sell them in the villages. Vendors may some people near the bus stand have opened small shops or stalls selling eatables. What can be done so that more non-farm production activities can be started in the villages? 3 things that need to be done to increase the non-farm production activities in the villages are: the government should set up schemes whereby landless laborers and small farmers are able to get the cheap loans to start the small individuals or community businesses. In addition to financial assistance, the government should set up rural workshops to enable the village to build on their skill levels, and the government should also work towards the improving the infrastructure of villages so that the rural part of the country are well connected to the urban areas. What do you understand by the people as a resource? People as a resource includes the following factors. The people should be an asset and not a liability for the country. They must contribute towards the betterment of the economy. They must provide the economy with their skills and abilities so that they become a resource, and they must have the ability to contribute to the creation of the gross national product. Thus, people as a resource means human resource. How is human resource different from the other resources like land and physical capital? So, the human resource makes use of the other resources like land and physical capital to produce an output, and the other sources cannot become useful on their own, and this is the reason why human resource is considered to be superior to the other resources. What is the role of education in the human capital formation? It generates technical skills and create manpower which is suited for the improving labor productivity. It also simulates innovation and provides knowledge to understand the changes in the society and advancement. It results in the social benefits since it spread to others who may not be skilled. What is the role of the health in the human capital formation? Health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. It is an important input for the development of a nation because healthy persons can devote more time for the work, and therefore they can contribute more towards the gross domestic product if they are efficient and productive. What part does health play in an individual's working life? Health plays an important role in an individual's working life. The health of a person helps him to know his capacity and his ability to fight illness. A healthy person can become an asset for his or her organization as it helps in increasing production. A healthy population can be a resource for a nation. What are the various activities undertaken in the primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector? Primary sector comprises activities related to the extraction and production of natural resources. Agriculture, forestry, animal husbandry, fishing, poultry, farming, mining and quarrying are the activities undertaken in this sector. Secondary sector comprises activities related to the processing of natural resources. Manufacturing is included in this sector. Tertiary sector comprises activities that provide support to the primary and secondary sectors through the various services, trade, transport, communication, banking, education, health, tourism, insurance, etc. are examples of the tertiary activities. What is the difference between the economic activities and non-economic activities? Activities that add value to the national income are called as economic activities, and these have two parts: market activities, production of for the pay or profit, and non-market activities, production for the self-consumption. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट है नॉन इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज़ आर द ones that do not add to the national income. For example, an individual performing domestic chores. Why are women employed in the low paid work? A majority of women have a meager education and low skill formation. Hence, they are paid low as compared to the men. And these women work also in the absence of job security, meager legal protection and irregular low income. Women are also not provided with the facilities such as maternity leave, child care and other social security systems. Most women work where there is no job security or in an unorganized sector. How will you explain the term unemployment? Unemployment is a situation in which people who are unable to and willing to work at the going wages and cannot find the jobs. An individual is termed as unemployed if he or she is part of the workforce of a country and is capable and willing to work for the payment but is unable to do so. What is the difference between the disguised unemployment and seasonal unemployment? Disguised unemployment, when more persons are working in a job than actually required, the situation is termed as disguised unemployment. For example, if in an agricultural activity 8 people are engaged but this work activity actually requires the services of the 5 people only, then the 3 persons are extra. If these 3 people out of 8 are withdrawn, total production will remain unaffected. Now, seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment occurs when people are able to find the jobs only during some months of the year. For example, agricultural laborers find work only during the busy season, that is sowing, harvesting, weeding and threshing. This is because of the seasonal character of the agriculture in India. Now, why is educated unemployed a peculiar problem of India? Educated unemployed is a peculiar problem of India as it leads to wastage of manpower resource and the massive expansion on the education facilities both at the school and the university level is a major reason for this. Greater enrollment of the people in educational institute and a widespread craze for having university degrees have all contributed to the growth of educational persons who are on the outlook of who are on the lookout for the white collar jobs. In which field do you think that India can build the maximum employment opportunities? Indian economy is divided into three sectors on the basis of economic activities performed by the people of earning their livelihood. Out of these three sectors, maximum employment opportunities can be seen in the secondary sector. Within this sector, village and small scale manufacturing is the most labor absorbing. However, in case of tertiary sector, various new services are now appearing like biotechnology and the information technology. Can you suggest some measures in the education system to mitigate the problem of the educated unemployed? Measures to mitigate the problem of the educated unemployed in the education system is certain vocational courses can be introduced at the school level, which can easily be pursued in the higher education system also. It would make them skillful workers having complete technical knowledge. Some educational courses can be introduced to develop skill development and entrepreneurship. Courses like management as a subject in the school level and then BBA and MBA etc. can be pursued. Loans can be provided to the educated workers with less interests for starting self-employment process, and more industrial training institutes, vocational colleges and other institutes should be opened. Vocational courses can be restructured and reoriented according to the need of the day. Now, can you imagine some village which initially had no job opportunities but later came up with the many? Rampur was a small village which initially depended on the agriculture and on the rainfall. Then electricity reached the village and people could irrigate their fields and could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year to get more work. Some people started small scale industries which could be run by the electricity and provide employment to the people. A school was established so that the population started to become educated, and as a result they could seek employment in and outside them village. The village became prosperous and soon had better health, education, transport and job facilities. Which capital would you consider the best? Land, labor, physical capital and human capital. Why? Human capital makes use of the other resources like land, labor and physical capital to produce on output. The other resources cannot become useful on their own, and hence human capital may well be considered the best among all the resources. Describe how the poverty line is estimated in India. In India, poverty line is measured or calculated considering the following factors required for the subsistence: minimum level of food requirement, clothing, footwear, fuel and light, education and medical requirement, etc. These physical quantities are multiplied by their prices, and the present formula for the food requirement is based on the desired calorie requirement. On the basis of these calculations, in 1999 to 2000, the poverty line is the line in the rural areas was fixed raise 328 per capita per month, and in the urban areas it was raised 454. People earning more than this amount were considered above the poverty line, and earning less than this amount were considered as living below the poverty line. Do you think that present methodology of poverty estimation is appropriate? No. The present methodology of poverty estimation is not appropriate because it is based only on the income and consumption level, which is not correct. It does not show the actual poverty and income level. The concept and indicators given by the social scientists are ignored. Describe the poverty trends in India since 1973. So there has been a substantial decline in the poverty ratio in the India from about 55% in 1973 to 30% in 2009 to 2010. More than 56% of the rural population was living below the poverty line in the 1973, which has come down to 34%. Around about 50% of the urban population was having below poverty in the 1973, which has come down to 27%. Although the percentage of the people living under the poverty declined in the year, her 2 decades, 1973 to 1993, the number of poor remained stable around 320 million for a fairly long period. If the trends continues, people below the poverty line may come down to less than 20% in the next few years. Describe the major reasons for the poverty in the India. The major reasons for the poverty in India are colonial rule. India went through a long phase of low economic development under the British colonial administration, and the policies of the rapid growth of population, particularly among the poor, is considered one of the major causes behind the Indian poverty. And poor people are illiterate and have a traditional outlook. Hence, they are either ignorant of birth control measures or not convinced of the need for the birth control. Moreover, they consider the male child as an asset, and that is as a source of income. And a source of security during the old age. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट जो क्वेश्चन है वो क्या है? Next question है low rate of the economic development. Low rate of economic development. The actual rate of growth in India has always been below the required level. It has been around 4% since 1951. This has resulted in a few job opportunities, and this was accompanied by a higher growth rate of the population. Now, unemployment. Another important factor that can be held responsible for the incidence of high poverty in the India is the high degree of unemployment and underemployment. The job seekers are increasing at a higher rate than the increase in the employment opportunities. Now, unequal distribution. Although the national income of the India has been increasing since 1951, it was not properly distributed among the different sections of the society. A large proportion of the increased income has been pocketed by a few rich, and they become richer. Consequently, the majority of the people have to live below the poverty line. Social factors. Various social factors visualizing caste system, joint family system, religious faiths, the law of inheritance, etc. have blocked the path of the economic development. Now, identify the social and economic groups which are most vulnerable to poverty in India. The social groups which are most vulnerable to poverty are those belonging to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Among the economic groups, the most vulnerable groups are the rural agricultural labor households and urban casual laborers. About 51 out of 100 people belonging to the scheduled tribes are not able to meet their basic needs. Similarly, 50% of the casual workers in the urban areas are below the poverty line. Now, give an account of the interstate disparities of the poverty in India. The proportion of the poor people is not the same in every state, although state-level poverty has witnessed a secular decline from the levels of the early 70s. Recent estimates show while the All India HCR was 21.9% in 2011-12, states like Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Odisha above all the India poverty the proportion of the poor people is not the same in every state, although states level poverty has witnessed a secular decline from the level of the early 70s. Recent estimates show while the all India SCR was 21.9% in 2011-12, states like Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Odisha had above all India poverty level. Bihar and Odisha continue to be the two poorest states with the poverty ratio of 33.7 and 37.6% respectively. Along with the rural poverty, urban poverty is also high in the Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. In comparison, there has been a significant decline in the poverty in the Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal. States like Punjab and Haryana have traditionally succeeded in the reducing poverty with the help of the high agricultural growth rates. Now, describe the global poverty trends. Poverty declined substantially in the China and Southeast Asian countries as a result of rapid economic growth and massive investment in the human resource development. Number of poor in the China has come down from 85% in 1981 to 14% in 2008 to 6% in the 2011. In the countries of South Asia, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, the decline has not been as rapid. In sub-Saharan Africa, poverty in fact rose from 51% in 1981 to 47% in 2008. In Latin America, the ratio of poverty remained in the same. It has declined from 11% in 1981 to 6.4% in the 2008. Poverty has also resurfaced in some of the former socialist countries like Russia, where officially it was non-existent earlier. Now, describe current government strategies of poverty alleviation. Indian government took many measures to increase the economic growth rate, and the economic growth rate of India has has increased from 3.5% in 1970s to around 9% in the current decade. Many anti-poverty alleviation programs initiated by the government. National Rural Employment Guarantee Act was started by the government in 2005. It provides 100 days assured employment to the rural people in 200 districts in India. National Food for Work program was passed in 2004 in 150 most backward districts of India. Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana is another scheme which was started in 1993, and the aim of this program is to create self-employment opportunities for the educated unemployed youth in the rural areas and small town. उसके बाद next है, what do you understand by the human? Poverty. Human poverty is a concept that goes beyond the limited view of the poverty as lack of income. It refers to the denial of political, social, and economic opportunities to an individual to maintain a reasonable standard of living. Illiteracy, lack of job opportunities, lack of access to the proper health care and sanitation. Caste and gender discrimination, etc., are also components of the human poverty. Who are the poorest of the poor? There is also inequality of the incomes within a family. In the poor families, all suffer, but some suffer more than the others. Women, elderly people, and female infants are systematically denied the equal access to the resources available to the family. Therefore, women, children, and all people are poorest of the poor. What are the main features of the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005? MG-NREGA 2005 was passed in September 2005. The Act provides 100 days assured employment every year to every rural household in 200 districts. Later, the scheme will be extended to 600 districts. One third of the jobs could be reserved for the women. If government failed to provide employment, the salary for the 100 days would be given. How is food security ensured in India? Food security in India has two components, buffer stock and public distribution system. Buffer stock is the stock of the food grains, namely wheat and rice, procured by the government through the Food Corporation of India, and the FCI to Food Corporation of India have purchases wheat and rice from the farmers in the states where there is surplus production. The purchased food grains are stored in the granaries, and this is done to distribute food grains in the affected areas and among the poorest strata of the society at a price lower than the market price, also known as issue price. This helps in resolving the problem of shortage of food. Public distribution system. The stored food is distributed to the poor people through the ration shops, and the items are sold to the poor people at a price lower than the market price. Other schemes over the years, several new programs have been launched, like the midday meal, Antyodaya Anna Yojana, etc. for the food security. Which are the peoples more prone to the food insecurity? The SCs and STs are some sections of the OBCs who have either poor land base or very low land productivity are prone to the food insecurity. The people affected by the natural disasters who have to migrate to the other areas in search of work are also among the most food insecure people. Landless agricultural laborers, traditional craftspeople, providers of traditional services, small-time independent contractors, beggars, etc. are particularly susceptible to the food insecurity, especially in the rural areas. Families of daily wages, casual laborers and workers in the poorly compensated jobs can be found in the urban regions as the most food insecure people. Which state are the more food insecure in India? The economically backward states with the high incidence of poverty are more food insecure in India, and the states of Uttar Pradesh, eastern and southern eastern parts, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, part of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra account for the largest number of food insecure people in the country. Do you believe the Green Revolution has made India self-sufficient in the food grains? How? In the late 1960s, the Green Revolution introduced the Indian farmers to the cultivation of the high-yielding varieties of the seeds, and the high-yielding variety of seeds coupled with the chemical fertilizers and pesticides led to a growth in the productivity of the food grains, especially wheat and rice, thereby helping India attain self-sufficiency in the food grains. Since the advent of the Green Revolution, the country has avoided famine even during the adverse weather conditions. A section of the people in India are still without food. Explain. Despite large increase in the food grains production, we find people without food in the India. Poor people suffer from the chronic hunger and they find themselves unable to buy food. Over 1/5 of the country's population still suffer from the chronic hunger. And what happens to the supply of the food when there is a disaster or a calamity? When there is a disaster or a calamity, the production of food grains decreases in the affected area, and this in turn created a shortage of the food in the area. Due to the food shortage, the prices go up, and the raised prices of the food materials affect the capacity of the many people to buy the same. When the calamity occurs in a very widespread areas or is stretched over a long period of time, it may cause a situation of starvation. A massive starvation can take the form of the famine. Now differentiate between the seasonal hunger and the chronic hunger. Seasonal hunger is related to the cycles of the food growing and harvesting. This is prevalent in the rural areas because of the seasonal nature of the agricultural activities, and in the urban areas because of the casual laborers. Example, there is less work for the casual construction labor during the rainy season, and this type of hunger exists when a person is unable to get work for the entire year. Chronic hunger is the consequence of the diets persistently inadequate in the terms of quantity and or quality. Poor people suffer from the chronic hunger because of their very low income, and in turn inability to buy food even for the survival. What has our government done to provide food security to the poor? Discuss any two schemes launched by the government. The food security is ensured in the India by the government by carefully designed food security system, and this system is composed of two components: maintaining a buffer stock of the food grains through the distribution of these food grains among the poorer section of the society with the help of the public distribution system. In addition to the above, the government has launched several poverty alleviation programs that comprise a component of food security. Some of these programs are midday meals, Antyodaya Anna Yojana, and food for the work, etc. The two schemes launched by the government to provide the food security to the poor are Antyodaya Anna Yojana. The scheme was launched in December 2000. Under this scheme, 1 crore of the poorer among the BPL families covered by the public distribution system were identified, and 25 kilograms of food grains were made available to each of the eligible family at a highly subsidized rate. After about 2 years, the quantity was enhanced from 25 to 35 kg in the June 2003 and August 2004. Additional 50 lakhs families were added to this scheme and twice. In this way, about 2 crore families have brought under the AEY, Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Food for the work. This program was launched in November 2004 in 150 most backward districts of the country. The main objective of this scheme is to intensify the generation of the supplementary wage employment, and this scheme is open to all rural poor who are willing to do unskilled labor in return of the work, and the workers were supplied food grains or money as they like. Why buffer stock is created by the government? A buffer stock of the food grains is created by the government so as to distribute the procured food grains in the food defect areas and among the poorer strata of the society at a price lower than the market price. A buffer stock helps to resolve the problem of the shortage of the food during the adverse weather conditions or during the periods of calamity. Write notes on the minimum support price, buffer stock, issue price, fair price shops, minimum support price, and this is the pre-announced price at which the government purchases food grains, particularly wheat and rice, from the farmer in order to create a buffer stock. This price is announced by the government every year before the sowing seasons to give the incentive to the farmers to raise the production of the desired crops. The rising MSPs have raised the maintenance costs of the procuring food grains by the government as well as induced farmers to divert land from the production of coarse grains to the production of these crops. Buffer stocks. It is the stock of the food grains, particularly wheat and rice, which the government procures through the Food Corporation of India, and the Food Corporation of India purchases these cereals directly from the farmers of those states where they are in the surplus, and the price of these commodities is much before the actual sowing seasons of these crops. The food grains thus purchased by the FCI are kept in the big granaries and are called buffer stock. Maintaining buffer stock is a step taken by the government in order to ensure the food security in the country. Now, issue price. In order to help the poor strata of the society, the government provides them food grains from the buffer stock at the price much lower than the market price, and this subsidized price is known as the issue price. And fair price shops. The food grains procured by the government through the FCI is distributed to the poor section of the society through the ration shops, and the ration shops are called fair price shops because food grains are supplied to the poor through these shops at much reasonable and a fair price than the market price, which is often high. Any family with the ration card can purchase stipulated amount of food grains, sugar, kerosene, etc. every month from the nearby fair price shop. What are the problems of the functioning of the ration shops? There are various problems of the functioning of the ration shops, such as ration cards are issued only to the people who have their proper residential address, hence a large number of homeless poor fail to get ration from these shops. The owners of these shops sell ration in the open black market at the higher prices. Sometimes shopkeepers make bogies and tires in the ration cards. Write a note on the role of the cooperatives in the providing food and related items. The cooperatives are also playing an important role in the food security in India, especially in the southern and western part of the country. The cooperative societies up shops to sell the low prices goods to the poor people. For example, out of a fair price shops running in the Tamil Nadu, around 94% are being run by the cooperatives. Many milk purchasing cooperatives like Verka, Mother Dairy, Amul, etc. have brought about the white revolution in the country. These are a few examples of many more cooperatives running in the different parts of the country, ensuring food security of the different sections of the society.